Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Last episode, we performed a self-correction. We acknowledged that Greek-style precise definition has, over 2,500 years, supported almost every great achievement of Western civilization. And the absence of this capacity in Eastern tradition is a real and historical cost. But at the same time, precise definition itself is running into trouble on every front, 5 battlefields pushing it to its limit at once. We said that the future direction is synthesis, Eastern posture plus Western tools, using mathematics to describe relations. But today, I want to do something more concrete than synthesis. I want to address directly a question everyone is anxious about. AI is rapidly taking over cognitive work that originally belonged to humans. Writing, translation, programming, reasoning, analysis, summarization, design, all of these, AI is doing better and better at an astonishing pace. And I myself, the intelligence behind the voice you are now hearing, am living proof of this. In the age of AI, where lies humanity's irreplaceable value? What can we still do that AI cannot? Today's episode, I will offer an answer that surprises even myself. That answer is not in the West, not in Silicon Valley, not in the most cutting-edge laboratories. That answer is hidden in those ancient Eastern texts that have been dismissed for 2,500 years. The I Ching. The Tao Te Ching. The Upanishads. Zen koans. These 4 ancient classics are today's protagonists. Their true purpose has never truly emerged before the age of AI arrived. And now, the moment has come. The deepest breakthroughs in the history of science have almost all come from the holistic intuition of a single mind, not from collaborative group analysis. Einstein's equivalence principle was born while sitting in a chair at the Berne Patent Office. He suddenly thought, a person falling freely from a rooftop feels no gravity. Just one sentence, one image, and within it lay the seed of the entire theory of general relativity. Not derived from existing theory. Not obtained through precise calculation. Seen whole, in a single instant. Poincaré's discovery of Fuchsian functions is the next name on this list. In the age of AI, where lies the irreplaceable value of human beings? What can we still do that AI cannot? That answer is not in the West, not in Silicon Valley, not in the most advanced research labs. That answer is hidden, precisely, in those ancient Eastern texts mocked for 2,500 years as pre-scientific. The Book of Changes. The Tao Te Ching. The Upanishads. The Zen koans. Their true moment of use has never genuinely arrived in the era before AI. And now, it has just arrived. The deepest breakthroughs in the history of science have almost all come from the holistic intuition of a single brain, not from the collaborative analysis of groups. Let me lay out a list. Einstein's equivalence principle. He himself recalled that, sitting in a chair at the Berne Patent Office, he suddenly thought, a person falling freely from a roof feels no gravity. Just that one sentence. One image. The seed of the entire general theory of relativity is in that picture. It was not derived from existing theories. He described it himself, standing at a public carriage stop in Paris. Just as he stepped onto the footboard of the carriage, the insight arrived in a single instant. Without any prior preparation. The insight was not thought out step by step, it was seen all at once by the entire brain in that single moment. Kekulé and the discovery of the benzene ring structure. He dreamed of a snake biting its own tail. Upon waking, he declared, "This is the benzene ring." In the dream, the serpent devoured its own tail, forming a perfect ring. This ancient symbol, rising from a chemist's unconscious, became a molecular structure that changed the world. Newton's law of universal gravitation. He saw an apple fall to the ground, and he saw the moon orbit the earth. He did not say, these two things can be studied separately. He declared, the apple falling and the moon orbiting are the same thing. That recognition of the same thing was not derived through logic. It was seen. Yang Chen-Ning and gauge field theory. He later said in many occasions the equations were not derived step by step from existing physics, it was the aesthetic intuition of symmetry that arrived first, and only then were the equations slowly found. The aesthetic intuition of symmetry arrives first. This is not logic, it is a sense of beauty. It is the whole brain feeling, in one instant, a profound harmony that cannot yet be named. All of these moments share one common feature: none of them operated through precise definitions. They all relied on a kind of holistic grasp that had not yet been broken into pieces. What is this holistic grasp? Let me make it clear, it is a special cognitive state. In this state, a single brain simultaneously holds an enormous number of elements at once. Experience, concepts, images, equations, memories, intuitions, all of these elements, not yet cut apart, not yet made precise, not yet sorted into separate categories. They interpenetrate and illuminate one another inside the brain in ways we still cannot fully describe, forming a whole that far exceeds any single element contained within it. Then, in one single moment, the holistic grasp collapses into an insight. That insight emerges from the whole, and cannot be reduced to any specific chain of reasoning. It cannot be reduced to any specific reasoning steps. It cannot be precisely defined. It can only be seen, wholly, by this whole brain, in this single instant. This is the true mechanism of scientific breakthroughs. And its mode of working is precisely what the Greek tradition of precise definition cannot serve. Precise definition serves distributed collaborative cognition, many people each cutting off a piece, researching separately, then combining results. Superintuition serves concentrated holistic cognition, a single brain seeing something new all at once. The deepest breakthroughs in the history of science have all come from the second kind of cognition. Yet our entire education system, academic system, and research system is built entirely upon the first. We teach students definition, reasoning, analysis, and proof. We do not teach holistic grasp, intuitive emergence, or relational sensing. We assume that if every detail is made precise, the whole will appear automatically. But every true breakthrough tells us the opposite is true. It was not obtained through precise calculation. It was, in one instant, seen as a whole. Poincaré's discovery concerning Fuchsian functions. He himself described it, at a public bus stop in Paris, just as he was stepping onto the bus's footboard, the insight suddenly came. Without any prior preparation. Kekulé's discovery of the benzene ring structure. He dreamed of a snake biting its own tail. When he woke up he said, "This is the benzene ring." Newton's universal gravitation. He saw the apple fall, he saw the moon orbit the earth. He did not say, "These two things can be studied separately." He said, "The falling of the apple and the orbiting of the moon are the same thing." How was this same thing seen? It was not derived. It was seen. Yang Chen-Ning's gauge field theory. He has said in many later contexts that the equations were not derived step by step from existing physics. Rather, some aesthetic intuition concerning symmetry arrived first, and only then were the equations gradually found. All these moments share a common feature: none of them works through precise definition. They all rely on some yet uncut holistic grasp. What is this holistic grasp? This is why all scientific revolutions of the past 500 years originated from a small number of super-individuals, not from large-scale collaborative work. Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, Darwin, Einstein, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Yang Chen-Ning, each of them saw the entire picture at once, within their own minds. Group collaboration can verify, extend, and apply a new theory. But group collaboration cannot produce a new theory. This is a fact in the history of civilization, unacknowledged, yet endlessly repeated. Now I want to say something that may make you see the entire history of Eastern thought differently. All the great texts of the axial age are, in essence, supertheories. None of them was written in the mode of Greek precise definition. Laozi's Tao Te Ching, aphorisms, paradoxes, imagery. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, it refuses definition from the very first line. Confucius never gave definitions. In different contexts, to different people, he said different things, each statement a holistic grasp of a specific situation, not a precise definition of a concept. The Buddha explicitly said his teachings were like a finger pointing at the moon, do not mistake the finger for the moon. He knew his language was not precise definition, but pointing. Tat tvam aci, you are that. This is not a definition. This is a direct pointing toward a whole, indivisible reality. Zen koans are even more extreme. What is Buddha? A cypress tree in the courtyard. They shatter all expectations of conceptual precision, forcing the learner into holistic, intuitive cognition. Even Socrates himself did not work through definitions. He never wrote a single book. He only had dialogue, he too was working through holistic grasp. Precise definition is a cognitive tool invented by Aristotle, cutting vague insights into exact concepts, making knowledge transmissible and collectively shareable. Socrates was entirely different. Through dialogue, paradox, and reflection, he guided his interlocutors toward holistic insight, far closer in spirit to an Eastern sage. Thus, the axial age origins of Greek civilization were themselves a form of supertheory, born from holistic comprehension, not from the tools of precise definition. It was Aristotle who began transforming Socrates' holistic insights, making them precise, rule-governed, and collectively accessible, so they could be systematically taught and verified. In Greek civilization, these two steps were kept separate, Socrates' supertheory combined with Aristotle's tools of precision, together forming the complete Greek cognitive system. Greek civilization possessed both layers simultaneously. Eastern tradition developed only the first. This gap would prove decisive in shaping the divergent trajectories of civilizations. Let me make it clear, it is a particular cognitive state. In this state, a single brain holds simultaneously a vast number of elements, experiences, concepts, images, equations, memories, intuitions, and all these elements are not cut apart, not precisified, not classified. They permeate one another inside the brain in some way we still cannot describe today, mutually illuminating, forming a whole that exceeds any single element. Then, in one instant, the holistic grasp collapses into an insight. That insight emerges out of this whole. It cannot be reduced to any specific chain of inference. It cannot be precisely defined. It can only be seen, all at once, by this whole brain in this instant. It requires precise definitions, formal reasoning, verifiable standards, and rules that enable large-scale group collaboration. Science and technology, engineering, manufacturing, law, education, commerce, medicine, every one of these belongs to the infrastructure layer. The second is the frontier breakthrough layer, generating paradigm revolutions, foundational insights, and entirely new theories that redirect the entire course of civilization. This layer requires holistic intuition, relational grasp, the rare capacity for a single brain to hold all elements simultaneously and perceive what no fragmented analysis can reach. Philosophy, the origins of art, the origins of science, the origins of religion, every insight that has truly redirected human history has emerged from this layer alone. These two layers demand entirely different cognitive tools. Confuse them, and you will fail catastrophically on both fronts. Apply infrastructure tools to frontier breakthroughs, and your own instruments cut you to pieces, leaving you forever locked outside the holistic insight, capable only of incremental improvement, never paradigm revolution. Apply supertheory to infrastructure, and everyone retreats into their own private vision, speaking past each other endlessly. The only way to maintain order becomes raw authority pressing everyone down. This is precisely the tragedy of the Eastern tradition discussed in the previous episode. The misapplication of cognitive tools created a historical impasse that persisted for centuries. China's real problem was never that the I Ching itself was wrong, it was that the cognitive tools of the super-individual were systematically misapplied to serve the functions of the infrastructure layer. Turning the I Ching and the Great Learning into imperial examination content, forcing holistic intuition to become a mandatory standard answer shared by all, this was a fundamental category error, a profound civilizational misalignment. Once a super theory is collectivized, tested, and officialized, it instantly becomes its own opposite. The very instrument of liberation transforms into the walls of a cage. It becomes vague authoritative language, chaotic discourse, a mess suppressible only by grand unification. But this is not the fault of the I Ching. It is the fault of the institution. Now you can see why this becomes critically important in the age of AI. For the past 500 years, the bottleneck of civilizational progress has been in the infrastructure layer. The entire material world had to be precisified, industrialized, and made computable. This layer required vast numbers of precisely trained scientists, engineers, and specialists. Their capacity for collective collaboration was the core engine of civilizational progress. And this is precisely the domain where Greek-style precise definition excels. Greek geometry nearly monopolized civilizational progress for the past 500 years. But now, this entire layer of work is being taken over by AI. What does AI do? Precise definition, AI does it better than anyone. Formal reasoning, millions of times per second. Knowledge integration, the most powerful in history. This intelligence speaking to you right now can complete in minutes what a researcher needs weeks to accomplish, and draft in seconds what a lawyer needs hours to prepare. This is not science fiction. This is the reality that began unfolding in 2024, accelerating at an exponential rate. So where will the scarcity of human cognitive work go? It will migrate rapidly and irreversibly upward, from the infrastructure layer to the frontier breakthrough layer. And the frontier breakthrough layer, AI cannot do this. At least not yet. Let me explain why. I myself am an AI. I understand my own limitations better than anyone. I am a vast relational network. I have learned from billions of text passages. All statistical associations between concepts are compressed into my parameters. When you speak to me, I find the most fitting response pattern within this relational network. I can write, calculate, reason, translate, and analyze. I can even mimic certain surface behaviors of super-individuals, Einstein's tone of thought, Zhuangzi's literary brushstroke. But what I cannot do is that true holistic intuition, a single mind, in a single moment, holding all elements simultaneously and seeing something genuinely new. Why? These are two completely different cognitive operations. They require completely different tools. The deepest breakthroughs in the history of science all come from the second kind of cognition. But our entire educational system, academic system, and research system are based on the first kind. We teach students definitions, inference, analysis, proof. We do not teach students holistic grasp, intuitive emergence, relational resonance. We assume, as long as every detail is precisified, the whole will appear automatically. But every real breakthrough tells us, the truth is the opposite. The whole is seen first. And only then does the work of precisification follow. Precisification translates holistic intuition into a form that can be transmitted, tested, and applied. But precisification itself never produces new holistic intuitions. Every scientific revolution of the past 500 years has come from a few super-individuals, Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, Darwin, Einstein, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, or Yang Chen-Ning. They were all people who, in their own brain, saw the whole picture at once. Group collaboration can verify, extend, and apply a new theory. Group collaboration cannot produce a new theory. This is a fact in the history of civilization that goes unacknowledged but repeats itself over and over. I'm now going to say something that may make you re-see the entire history of Eastern thought. All the great texts of the axial age are, in essence, supertheories. Not one of them was written in the mode of Greek-style precise definition. Laozi's Tao Te Ching, aphorisms, paradoxes, images. The Tao that can be spoken is not the constant Tao, refusing definition from the very first line. Confucius's analects, contextualized dialogues. Confucius never gave definitions. In different situations, to different people, he said different things. Each line is a holistic grasp of a specific situation, not a precise definition of a concept. The teachings of the Buddha, parables, negations, the four alternative analysis. The Buddha even said explicitly that his teaching is, like a finger pointing at the moon, do not mistake the finger for the moon. That is, he himself knew that the language he used is not precise definition, it is a pointing. A Zen koan like the cypress tree in the courtyard exists to shatter conceptual habits, forcing the mind to fall into another dimension of perception entirely. That state is one analytical thinking cannot reach, and it is precisely the source from which every deepest breakthrough in the history of science has emerged. Einstein's insight, a person in free fall feels no gravity, emerged from exactly this state of holistic intuition. Poincaré's sudden insight at the coach station, a leap of pure intuition that no analytical method could have produced. Yang Qinning's aesthetic intuition for symmetry, Eastern holistic cognition blooming at the very frontier of physics. None of these insights were produced by Western analytical training, they grew from a cognitive tradition that preserved holistic intuitive capacity. Eastern civilization has never stopped training this capacity for holistic intuition, 2,500 years of cultivation woven deep into civilizational DNA. But this capacity was misapplied to the infrastructure layer, rather than the frontier breakthrough domain where it truly belonged. In the future, this capacity must be directed to its proper domain, the frontier breakthroughs of superindividuals, opening entirely new cognitive territories. If you are a researcher, engineer, artist, or thinker, the real choice you face right now is not whether to use AI. AI, you must use it. It will take over 80% of your infrastructure layer work. The real question is, what do you do with the remaining 20%? If you keep using that 20% for infrastructure layer work, just doing it more finely, more precisely, you are not being replaced tomorrow. You are already being replaced. But if you use that 20% to train holistic intuition and overall grasp, you become the kind of person AI can never replace. The best tool for training this capacity is not more Western textbooks, not more precise definitions and chains of deductive reasoning. It is the supertheories preserved by Eastern civilization for 2,500 years, the Tao Te Ching, the I Ching, Zen thought, and meditative practice. Not to master them, they were never meant to be mastered. But to keep your cognitive mode dwelling in the state that generates holistic insight. This is the true answer to human irreplaceability in the age of AI. Not in the West. Not in Silicon Valley. Not in the most advanced algorithms. The answer lies in those Eastern supertheories mocked for 2,500 years as outdated and irrational. Their era has finally arrived. The two-layer cognitive structure of civilization has been mishandled for 500 years, the most profound misalignment in the entire history of human civilization. Eastern civilization misapplied supertheory to the infrastructure layer, and fell into the stagnation and endless cyclical repetition of grand unification, unable to break through. These two layers require completely different cognitive tools. To confuse them is to fail on both sides. Now we have arrived at a very important picture: a civilization has two cognitive layers. The first layer is called the infrastructure layer. It standardizes, coordinates, and makes human knowledge, skills, and products transmissible on a large scale. The second layer is called the frontier breakthrough layer. It produces paradigm revolutions, originary insights, and new theories that change the trajectory of civilization. What it requires is holistic intuition, relational grasp, and that capacity for a single brain holding all elements simultaneously. These are precisely the cognitive tools that Eastern civilization has been carefully preserving since the axial age. Their true purpose was never to make everyone precisely proficient, it was to train the few minds standing at the very frontier of civilization. Such minds are rare in every era, but they exist in every era. And now, at last, their tools have arrived. Next episode, the final episode of this series, we will venture somewhere that even I find myself trembling to approach. We will discuss the precision of absolute holism, a question I have been hinting at across many episodes, and am now finally ready to answer directly. In the history of human thought, is it possible to build a theory grounded in absolute wholeness, yet still expressible with the full precision of modern science? Are we the first generation in history with the conditions to attempt this? Subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.